How do there, guys? Welcome back to Edgar TV, where today we're going to be discussing a couple of topics we've discussed on this channel before. We did this not too long ago with Glenn Durrant when we looked at the top 10 players of all time, and today we're going to be doing that exact same topic with Chris Mason.
How do?
You know the lingo. So we were discussing this beforehand, and we certainly didn't make any notes beforehand.
No.
Just pretend you can't see these. And we were saying that the top 5 is pretty much nailed on, isn't it? We know the top. The order could change.
Yeah.
You know, some people argue Van Gerwen as number 1 rather than Phil Taylor. Some people argue Bristow over Van Gerwen in number 2. Barneveld and Anderson can flip, so they can flip-flop around, but we're pretty much saying Taylor, Anderson, Barneveld, Bristow, MVG.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty much universally the top 5 that instantly come to mind when everybody, or you ask anybody, or you discuss it with anybody. We've been chatting about it, going back and forth all week, and those top 5 just don't seem to ever change. And we also had a look around online where I think Paul Nicholson's done his top 5 and top 10, and that 5 were in the 5. And wherever you look, whether it be other internet or YouTube or social media channels, they all seem to go with that top 5. The discrepancy seems to be in the order. Position 6 to 10 or the order. Yeah, I don't think there's too many. I think probably the newer fans would probably put MVG in front of Taylor, but yeah. I think the fact that I played a lot of the Phil Taylor era and then a little bit of the MVG era, but I've also watched it closely because in that time obviously I've been involved in a broadcasting capacity.
So here's the big question then. What do you think it takes to dislodge one of those 5? What would you like to see?
I think we'd have to see something quite remarkable. I think when you look at how hard it is to breach into that top 5, you've got to tick a lot of longevity for being one. Titles, not necessarily. I mean, everyone's judged on world titles, aren't they? But it's a bit hard to make any kind of comparison when you're judging it against someone who's won 16. That's something that's never going to happen again. Certainly, I can't see it ever happening again. I don't think the game's going in that direction. There'd have to be something drastic happen where the popularity of darts completely falls out. There's no money in the game, and maybe someone might get to 10 or 12, but I think it's unlikely.
Or Luke Littler comes along.
Yeah, and but
even then,
I don't. I mean, he's in a position he could potentially have the longevity. I think he's going to earn so much money. I think he'll be out fairly quickly.
I agree. I don't see him going beyond 30s.
No, absolutely not. I mean, he's got 13 years. Will he be around in 13 years? I don't know. I think there's so much money in the game. Keeping that desire Phil had. I remember him winning his 10th world title. The emotion and the feeling he had from winning it. I was like, how? How have you still got that drive and determination and that will to win, and you still apply yourself so religiously? His practice routines were brutal, but that's probably why he is the most successful player in the world. And then when you look at position 6 to 10, I think it's really tough, because I look at it from a couple of ways. Yeah, world titles, the amount of titles won, the longevity, but you've also got to look at, okay, let's have player A against player B. If they played each other, although they're from different eras, we can still make a little bit of a comparison. Would he beat him more than, you might have achieved more, but was he a better player? And that's where the debate changes from time to time. And listen, one week I look at it and I come up with another 5, and then another week I'll think of another 5. But it is what it is. It's up for debate. It's not, it's not for you to...
There's no definitive answer, is there? It's very subjective.
Absolutely.
Which is a good point for you guys to get in the comments section and let us know what you think of this one. Because me and Glenn Durrant sat on this very sofa not too long ago. We did ours. And the other thing we put in there was the impact on the game.
Yes.
People like Barneveld, the impact he had on the game, not just in Holland, but worldwide.
Would European darts be in the position as it is now without him?
Exactly.
And Michael, and Phil. And the initial first ever superstar of darts, of course, was Eric Bristow. He was he was recognised wherever he went. He was a superstar and our first of the game, and they all had that massive impact.
So we're not going to put them in order.
No.
Because I think it'd be even harder than it is to come up with 5. But you've got 5 for position 6 to 10.
Yes, I have, and I've got to put John Lowe in there.
There'll be a lot of people happy with that, because when me and Glenn sat here and did ours, we didn't include John Lowe.
Right, okay.
And I don't think it was a popular choice. There was a lot of people suggesting John Lowe should be in there.
Yeah, and that could be generational. It depends, I suppose, on your demographic of viewers. But he's another one. 3 world titles in 3 different decades. What was in an incredible era. The very start of the sport, 79. And then to defeat Eric, who was on the back of winning 3 on the spin and looked unstoppable, and then the pretty much the very last one that contained all the players ultimately before the split, and he won loads of things in there. He's in double figures in pentathlons, which is probably the hardest discipline. It's a lot of tournaments he won that people would either forget, or like I say, you may have younger viewers that may not look back.
See, that's the thing, isn't it? Your age, your experience of darts.
Yeah.
Because for me, my experience of darts began, and John Lowe was coming out with Blackpool, he's got no hair and we don't care. That was John Lowe to me. And there was a player before that, I was sort of the tail end of John Lowe, where I don't appreciate how good he was because I didn't experience it.
Yeah, he was a phenomenon. I was very lucky. I played him, and probably it would have been certainly not in his prime. I played him in America. I played him on television. I played him at the World Match Play, and I thought I had him on toast. And he sort of proved to me why he is a legend and a top 10. He was going deep into big tournaments in his 60s, and I just can't. Along with the 3 world titles and the multiple massive events he won over the years, and he was involved in one of the first great rivalries of our sport, and I think that's why he deserves a place inside the top 10.
And longevity tick, for me, big thing.
Yeah, longevity tick, titles tick, impact tick, because Eric needed a dance partner. And they were, Eric played the heel, everybody sort of gentleman.
Wrestling term.
There you go. Yeah. Everybody sort of loved Gentleman John.
Yeah.
So yeah, he had a massive impact as well.
Who's the 7th person? Not number 7.
No, James Wade.
Okay.
The only player that makes my top 10 who hasn't won a world title. Again, world major titles, world ranking events across 3 decades. People maybe forget how long James has been around. Phenomenal dart player, and was one of the new breed of players that was a fabulous youth player, but actually went on to do the business.
I was just thinking about it when you said James Wade and we thought about longevity. In today's world of social media, James Wade was kind of like a Luke Littler style.
Absolutely. I think he won pretty sure it was the Swiss Open when he was 17.
What would the story be like in today's world if James Wade was... It would be highlighted, wouldn't it?
Equally as phenomenal.
Yeah.
He made a massive impact. Loads of 9 darts. His nickname was 009 for a while. I don't think anybody's had more nicknames, probably apart from Gary Anderson. Yeah, wonderful player, and ultimately would have won a lot more had it not been for Phil Taylor. And that could be said of Dennis Priestley. But yeah, a wonderful player, undervalued for me, underrated for me. But yeah, what a player, and his resume is second to only 2 people for me.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about it. Still stuck on that thought, because I remember you'd hear about James Wade on the back page of Darts World magazine, and that was it. Like, imagine the boom he'd have now. So yeah, absolutely, you can see why you got James Wade.
Yeah, Adrian Lewis. This is terrible to say, but I compliment Adrian if you're watching this. Or if he's French. Yeah, I know he does. For someone with so much ability, Adrian Lewis. But he is in my top 10 of all time. Maybe not on longevity, certainly on titles tick. Yeah. But out and out, I could comfortably say one of the best players in that list, as in a player, a performer.
Yeah.
That is absolute pomp.
Because that's two different conversations.
Yes.
Who's the best player?
Yeah.
And who's the greatest?
Yes.
They're two different things.
Yeah, but because of that insane ability, I just can't not have him in my top 10.
I agree.
He was just so good. I'm lucky enough to have been around when he first was sort of introduced to the world of darts. Absolutely adore the fella, and just sitting back and watching him grow into this darting absolute titan. Yeah, can't not be in there for me.
Does he come back?
I don't know. I think so. Still certainly young enough. So much ability, so much talent. I think he could. I think he could be one of the very few players, because of that ability, that potentially, as he's taken a sabbatical, could ultimately come back. Yeah, on his own terms as well. And we spoke about it in the Modus Super Series this week. It doesn't look like he's planning on doing anything this year. He's loving doing exhibitions, and he's enjoying having the pressure off and spending valuable time at home with his family. Yeah, he could say next year, right, I'm gonna use the Super Series as a vehicle. He'll have long spells of playing. He can then tinker and play with things. It is the ideal platform for somebody like him.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Lewis is in there.
I think we only see him if he feels he can win.
Yeah.
I don't think we see him under any other circumstances.
Absolutely not. And I think he would say to himself, right, I'm gonna knuckle down. I'm gonna have a couple of months practice. I'm gonna have a week at Modus, see where my game is,
make a decision,
and then make a decision there how he goes forward.
So that's 8.
Yes.
Got 2 more.
Well, I think this is the obvious one, and that very much for the same reason that Adrian Lewis is in there. Peter Wright.
Yeah. I think Peter Wright is going to end up being the player who's closest to dislodging the 5.
Yeah. I think it's even more phenomenal that, what was he, 49 when he won his first Worlds, and Peter's been around. I remember playing Peter around 95, 96. I remember him playing Gold Cup pairs, I think, with Merv King, before anybody knew who Merv King was, in the wider scene of things. Remarkable player. And when he won the match play, another thing we were discussing this week, it was as dominant as I've seen anybody ever win any tournament. And again, in an incredible era of our sport.
With time on that, we'll look back at that and say, one of the best tournaments ever. Yeah,
I think if you're a real hardcore fan, or like us, also hardcore fans and involved in the game, we make a lot of notes and we record a lot of numbers, and his 2 world titles, absolutely brilliant. But everything else he's won in between it as well, and tournaments that he could have won and went close to winning, and just edged out by that spell of absolute dominance of MVG. He could have won so much more, but he's won plenty, and it's the style and his numbers match up against anybody in that list.
So we've got one more place.
Yeah, and this may be a surprise to a few, but I've gone for Bob Anderson.
Okay.
And I'll explain why.
Yeah.
During an era of what was pretty much Bristow's dominance, John Lowe, absolutely unbelievable at the time. Jockey going on to winning another world title in '89, to win 3 World Masters, and remember they're very different to what they are now. Starting from pretty much the very beginning, and in that era, to win it in
rough format,
86, 87, 88, and to be one of the very few players to have held the World Masters and the World Championships. Unbelievable. And a lot of people say, well, Eric's yip started to come in there. Eric made tons of finals post, and during that era. Absolutely remarkable. Eric was 84, 85, 86, absolutely his pomp. Only stopped in 87, missed a few doubles against John, but again, Bob Anderson is in this era, and And for me, he was one of the players that came along and was one of the first to really find a slightly different level. And again, if you have the ability and the time and the patience to dig a little bit deeper, his averages were phenomenal for that era, and was probably a catalyst in why we ended up with a certain Mr. Taylor, because he put,
set the bar for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when you put it like that, hard to argue.
Yeah, that's my list, and like I say, it's objective and subjective, and I have a slightly probably different look at it because I was sort of around throughout those eras. I had a keen interest in darts from probably about 77, 78.
Covers a good wide stretch of generations there as well. So,
yeah, and I've tried to do what you say. So I've tried to mix up the balance of being a great player and achieving a lot.
Yeah. I nailed it, I think, there. What do you guys think? Let us know down in the comments section. Do you agree with that 10, or would you have someone different in there? I think that's going to be a little bit closer to the comments we're going to be getting than me and Glenn Durant got when we did ours not so long ago. Thanks for joining, guys. I'll catch you soon.